Before I have the pleasure of introducing two giants of South LA, first of all, having come from the nonprofit sector, I fully appreciate what this recognition does for nonprofits. And so, colleagues, will you please join me in a round of applause for Don Howard, the CEO and president of the James Irvine Foundation. Thank you. Nonprofit work ain't easy, colleagues, and so for them to recognize the leadership of these men and women from across California is a really big deal. First of all, as I said, two giants of South LA. South LA is in the State Senate today, I'm proud to say. The first, delightful young progressive leader, I'm so proud of him. Oscar Minjivar grew up the son of Salvadorian immigrants in a working class community in South Los Angeles. A witness to limited economic opportunity within his neighborhood, he saw young men and women succumb to gangs, drugs, and incarceration. But Oscar was one of the lucky ones, finding a mentor in a lacrosse coach who believed that computer skills were the key to a brighter future. That coach encouraged Oscar in the direction of computer coding, and Oscar went on to major in computer information systems. Years later, Oscar saw even greater economic opportunities for workers with math, science, and technology skills. But sadly, less than 1% of Los Angeles schools offer a computer science class, and 80% of the local homes don't own a computer. Motivated to bridge this gap, he created TXT, Teens Exploring Technology, focused on boys and young men of color in South LA. Through a summer coding academy, after-school programs, and community gatherings, students learn how to collect and analyze data to solve community problems, build confidence, public speaking ability, and develop leadership skills. The results, colleagues, are impressive, with all Coding Academy students graduating from high school and a significant number going on to four-year colleges and universities. Encouraged, Oscar is eager to bring his successful program to other communities and young people. Oscar describes his programs as, quote, creating a culture of excellence and brotherhood where young men of color gain the skills and networks to give back to their communities and help other young people like them. He recently acquired a new space, an old library, a City of LA library, that will become a high-tech haven in South LA. Colleagues, please join me in celebrating Oscar's good work and the young men he has empowered.
Let's give a big State Senate thank you. Thank you, Oscar.
Those of us in South LA think that Mr. Thigpen is really like the Black Panther. He shows up when we need him the most. And East LA, thank you, Senator. Our final 2018 Irvine Award recipient today, colleagues, is Mr. Anthony Thigpen of California Calls. Mr. Thigpen believes, as we do, that voting is a fundamental act of our democracy. Yet those who cast ballots in California don't reflect the state's diversity always, with young people, people of color, and those less affluent, not always engaging at the level of their voting counterparts. Instead of succumbing to these discouraging statistics, Mr. Thigpen saw an opportunity for shared progress among these groups. Without a seat at the table, saying, quote, I've seen the possibilities of our democracy when those suffering most from injustices act together. Working to amplify the voices of unheard communities, Mr. Thigpen leads California Calls, an alliance of 31 grassroots organizations spanning urban, rural, and suburban counties across the entire state. The organization helps community organizations and grassroots leaders increase residents' education and participation on civic issues, both during and between election cycles. With Mr. Thigpen's leadership, California Calls helps local volunteers and organizations create long-term relationships in communities through networks of neighbors, families, and friends. His organization's focus on community engagement and collaboration has brought tangible benefits to individuals and communities across our entire state. Mr. Thigpen's good work includes securing significant investments in critical state services, including resources for our schools and classrooms, and leading a diverse partnership of over 30 civic and business organizations that helped reform California's ballot process to increase accessibility and inclusiveness. Please join me in congratulating the Black Panther himself, Mr. Anthony Thigpen, and California Calls for its extraordinary work to foster both diversity and inclusion in California's democracy.
The California State Senate welcomes the Black Panther, Mr. Thigpen. Let's give him a round of applause.
And Mr. Anthony Thigpen is the man responsible for my first electoral victory ever in 2006, as he was the field director, the field general of my campaign back in 2006 for the State Assembly. It was this man who was largely responsible for bringing me home to victory. So that's why you celebrate him or deride him, you know?
He worked. He did my first campaign, too.
And with that, colleagues, for all the James Irvine awardees today, once again, thank you very much for making California a much better place.